Washington and White House predicted Palestinian and Arab officials would need a cooling-off period before welcoming the U.S. back into the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. But 2 weeks after President Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, renewed protests and a diplomatic uproar are spotlighting the steep challenges facing U.S. peace efforts. A series of diplomatic maneuvers at the United Nations have left the U.S. increasingly isolated on the peace process. The UN Security Council unanimously backed a resolution Tuesday rebuking the Jerusalem decision, forcing the U.S. to employ its veto power. The Palestinians are now moving the resolution before the UN's General Assembly, where the U.S. cannot unilaterally avoid censure. Meanwhile, protests in Jerusalem and the West Bank since Trump's announcement have left hundreds injured. And militants in Gaza have fired rockets into Israel, triggering retaliatory Israeli strikes. The popular unrest, international uproar and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas' rejection of the U.S. as an honest broker in the peace process are leaving some experts and Arab diplomats questioning whether the Trump administration underestimated the ramifications of its Jerusalem decision and how the White House can recover. I think they underestimated the impact of how the various constituencies would react, said Aaron David Miller, a former Middle East peace negotiator. And they underestimated the impact to the credibility of the mediator. At the White House, the administration's peace team still appears confident in its approach, insisting the unrest and diplomatic blowback are only temporary, not a new reality. The administration also believes that, behind the scenes, it retains the support of key Arab partners for its peace efforts. Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law and senior advisor, and Jason Greenblatt, the special representative for international negotiations, are continuing to quietly draft an ambitious peace plan, and aren't changing their approach. "Nothing has changed in the plan that we're working on," a senior White House official said. "It's not as if all of a sudden we went to page X of the plan, which is part of the Jerusalem section, and said now we have to change this page because of what the president said." Senior White House officials told CNN they are confident, or at least hopeful, that the region will come to understand that Trump remains committed to brokering a peace deal and his Jerusalem proclamation doesn't dictate the final borders of future Israeli and Palestinian states. But there's been little action from the White House to change that perception, and the U.S. peace team has not spoken with any of its Palestinian counterparts since the president's remarks. "We don't think we need to mend anything," the senior White House official said. "There is nothing that the president did other than to reiterate his commitment to the peace agreement. People just need to catch their breath, read his speech again multiple times and understand it." But the president's underlying promise that his decision on Jerusalem does this not prejudge the holy city's final boundaries, an attempt at reassurance, has been lost in the outrage over his headline announcement. In a conflict where symbolism is everything, the Jerusalem decision has made it harder for Palestinians to overcome a fear, shared by many Arab officials, that the deal will leave Palestinians with a patchwork of disjointed areas of the West Bank with limited self-government and no right of return of Palestinian refugees displaced by the Arab-Israeli wars of 1948 and 1967. And while the fears and rumors circulating among Arab diplomats may prove untrue, the heightened emotions stemming from Trump's announcement have made it politically harder for Abbas, already struggling to maintain popular legitimacy among Palestinians, to come to the table. Diplomats say Abbas is far more likely to walk away and keep up the struggle than to accept what the Palestinians consider a bad deal. Privately, Trump sought to lessen the blow of the Jerusalem announcement in a phone call with Abbas beforehand, promising the Palestinian leader that the Palestinians stand to gain from the peace plan his administration is drafting. Similarly, Arab diplomats say Trump has promised their leaders that there will be good news for the Palestinians. But for now, the Palestinians remain outraged. The White House has to realize the Palestinians have their own internal politics that constrain their own ability to make a decision, said Gaith Al-Omari, a senior fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, who advised the Palestinian negotiating team from 1999 to 2002. the reaction to Jerusalem in the region affects their ability to accept any major American peace proposal.